This is James with WSTrades.com. I want to provide an update here on ticker BDPT or BioAdaptives Inc. So I got a comment here on one of the videos asking to review this stock and to review this company. So I decided to take a look at it here, and on some of the longer time frames like the weekly, it is pretty brutal. You can see at the beginning of the chart here on the 3-year weekly that it was trading up around the 3 to 4 cent mark, and now it's down below the 1 cent mark, so that is kind of rough. Let's go a little further back on the weekly here to see what we have, and yeah, the prices are much higher. If we come back earlier on the chart, looks like when it first opened up, it made a crazy surge here up to $5, which is kind of insane, but it does have a low here of 0.0001. So if you kind of look at the low point here of this first week that it traded, not too bad, but as it pumped up here and got to these higher prices, yeah, that would have been pretty brutal to buy in there because it's just been a very slow bleed out since it had that initial explosion there. Let's go back a little further just to make sure. And yeah, that's the beginning of the chart right there. So it looks like 2014 is when it first hit and made that crazy pump up there to over $7. And it's just been kind of a slow bleed out from there. So going to kind of shorter time frames here, you can see it has been making some pretty big moves. If we go to the daily, you can see down here it was around 0.0003, and it has went on a pretty good pump here and a pretty good run here, and we've seen a lot of volume come into this stock. So it has made a massive explosion from the low that we're seeing here on the daily. I'm going to come in here and take a look at the financials. So I was in Yahoo Finance and I was kind of looking at it here. Operating margin is pretty rough over the last 12 months, negative 1,375%. Return on assets are pretty brutal over the last 12 months, negative 190%. The revenue is pretty tiny at 13,000 over the last 12 months. The revenue growth year over year for the quarter, down 45.9%. EBITDA is negative 172,000. It's showing diluted EPS at 0, but I don't think this is true because when we go into the income statement, we can kind of see what's going on. The current ratio is, I think this might be the lowest we've seen. I know we covered some other stocks here recently. I think one of them had 0.08, but this one's got 0.03. So this might be the lowest current ratio that we've seen, which is pretty brutal. And then I'm not sure on the accuracy of this book value per share either. We can kind of take a look at the balance sheet to see if that is accurate. The operating cash flow is pretty brutal, considering their revenue we saw up here over the last 12 months of $13K, because their operating cash flow the last 12 months is negative $165K. So that's definitely kind of scary there. It says for the most recent quarter, they had $40,000 in cash on hand. So yeah, looking at that cash on hand and how much they burn here in 12 months through operations, that's definitely kind of scary to me. But I was looking through their SEC filings, and they just did an offering for $200,000, which is no surprise because, again, if they only have $40,000 on hand and they're burning through hundreds of thousands in operations, this $40,000 is not going to last them very long. So they did do an offering here recently for $200,000, so no surprise there. Let's go into the financial statements here. And let's take a look at the income statement here because they were talking about the last 12 months and the earnings being a break even, I believe. But if we come in here and look at net income common stockholders, we can actually see that they lost $1 million in earnings over the last 12 months. You can pretty much see every quarter here they are losing money on earnings. So let's come into the balance sheet to look at that stock equity here. And yeah, their common stock equity is negative on the annual. Let's hit the quarterly just to make sure. Yeah, even the common stock equity here for the quarterly is negative. So some of those numbers we're seeing on the statistics tab don't really look accurate to me because here they're showing negative 1.6 million in common stock equity. So they actually have negative book value per share. If we come into the cash flow statement here, you can see again operating cash flow here on the annual, negative every year. If we go into the quarterly, it's negative every quarter, and it's grown quite a bit here. Or the last 12 months, the number is still pretty high here. If we go back to the annual real quick, you can see in 2019, they only had a negative 168,000 in operating cash flow. Last 12 months, that's up to negative 235. So it's like they're bleeding more and more cash through operations the longer that they go along. Free cash flow kind of tells the same story here. We see 2019 free cash flow of negative 168,000. Last 12 months, free cash flow negative 235,000. You do see pretty much every year they've got big numbers on the financing cash flow line here, which is no surprise at all. They're probably issuing stock or doing something. Let's dig in here, see what they got going on. Debt. So net long-term debt issuance. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of financing going on here, and that's no surprise because they're just bleeding a lot of money. So just kind of taking a look at it here and taking a look at the chart, taking a look at the financial statements. I don't know, this one is pretty scary to me. Too many red flags for me. I'm not going to be investing in this company. I would deem this as a high risk investment here. You know, if you're looking to get in, it would have been great, you know, if you were lucky enough to get in at this 0.0003. If you were able to buy in down there or any of these prices down here on the chart, that would have been a nice entry as it has exploded. But yeah, just for me, seeing this thing way down here at 0.0003 and then making this massive move and the financials not really supporting this kind of a move here, and them just doing that big offering for $200,000, you know, this is not a stock that I would go long. Again, I would deem this as a high risk investment. So just wanted to provide an update here and do some analysis here on BDPT or BioAdaptives Inc. Please like this video. Please also subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Hit that notification bell. Appreciate you for taking the time to watch this. Talk to you soon.